So yeah, it kind of looks like I won't be sitting out in the sunshine shirtless this morning. Hmm.
Hello. So it's May 9th, and I woke up and opened up the window and kept the blind down. I'm like, why is it so cold in here? Then, just through the little crack, I started to see those big snowflakes. And I was like, wait a minute, it's snowing? Because I've been planning for like a couple of days, if we get a sunny day, that I would go sit out and make a video in the sunshine. I even had an idea for it, and I'll probably do it in a couple of days. But today the high is going to be 46. It's 31 degrees right now on May 9th. And that, my friends, is uncool. Okay, you Canadians, you keep the air to yourself, man. That's the pattern. We're getting some Canadian air in here. But May 9th, like the latest I've seen snowflakes like that in my entire lifetime of living in this region of 52 years, is June 3rd. So, yeah, that's kind of pushing the record a little bit. That's highly unusual for this area. Explains, it's very hard for people that plant gardens and flowers. Like this person out here uh, put in a little bird bath, and there's the flowers already came up real high from, I forget what they're called, irises, I think. But they might have got killed by the frost if it's 31 degrees. But if you plant um, and it gets this cold, and you get plants that are already up, you have to cover them up with plastic to keep the heat. You probably already know this anyway, but to keep the heat from the ground. Uh, I can't think of the right word. Anyways, you get the idea. Keep cold air out. Keep heat from ground in. And anyways, that was kind of unexpected. Um, my computer was acting so badly that was 6 o'clock when I stuck the camera toward the window, and it's 7:41. So I had just fumbled the computer back over and sat down and made a video, and I realized it didn't make a whole lot of sense. So I was telling a pretty serious story, and then I realized that I didn't get to the end of the story. But the story is that my best friend has macular degeneration, which is an affliction of your eye that his mother has. And his mother is in her 80s, and she couldn't see too well like 20 years ago. So, that's not good. But he also has like floaters. He tries to describe them to me, but I guess what happens is pieces of your cornea break away, and you get this like, this. Everybody has them. Like if you look around your eye right now, you'll see like little specks. You know, but they're really not noticeable unless you're actually looking for them. Well, his are like different. But the point to the story is like he was planning on going fishing with my brother at the Sandusky River, trying for the white bass, and he woke up and um, he said he saw like a white line like going through his eye that wasn't there before. He said it was like having something on your glasses. At first, he thought it was something on his glasses, but like when you have dirty glasses, and he said it was like a white line or something like that. And he started reading on the internet about it, and he was like, "Well, if you have floaters, if the floaters get around to the back of your eye, they can detach your retina." And a detached retina is something that has to be addressed immediately. They can do surgery on it, and they can fix it, and they can save your eye. But if they don't get to it quick enough, what happens is, I guess, your eye forms something around the retina that keeps it from reattaching to the nerve, and you go blind in that eye. So, um, those of you who are old enough remember Sugar Ray Leonard and his story of how he had to retire because of retina surgery and having a detached retina. courtesy of Thomas the Hitman Hearns, the Motor City Cobra. And then he came back and met Marvin Hagler in 1987, and everybody was like, "Don't do it, Ray." Even his own family was like, "What are you, nuts?" They didn't want him to do it, and he ended up winning, which I thought he lost. But people worried about A, whether he'd go blind or not, or B, whether he'd get killed by Marvin Hagler, because Marvin Hagler was champion for like 7 years. But they, those were the what would you call them, the casual fans that didn't understand what Ray understood, which was that Marvin had slowed down and was way down the other side of that hill. So I still think Hagler won. The overall point to that, I shouldn't have even went down that track. But my friend's fine. He went to the eye doctor instead of going to like an emergency visit to his eye doctor, and they said it didn't detach his retina, but he was afraid that is what happened, because he had this weird thing going on with his eye that he didn't have before, and he knew somebody that actually went blind in their eye from a detached retina. So after he got back from the doctors, and they said that you're fine, and I said, well, did they give you anything, or did they do anything? And they said no. They told me it was good that I was aware of that and all, but you're fine. And his wife was like, why don't you still go fishing? And my brother had a bad back, and he had already canceled on my brother, so he went by himself. And like, here's Lake Erie. Here's Fremont, Ohio, right next to Lake Erie, which is the city closest to the Sandusky River, the thumb representing the Sandusky River, and the pinky is way over here where we live. And he lives in Canton. I live in Madison, so he's driving from Canton. It's an hour and 45 minute drive. So he drove. I have to do math. You know how terrible that is. He drove an hour and 45 minutes each way. I go try to do math. And I fished for an hour, and he realized that the white bass are not in the water yet, and it's May, and that is usually, wow, it really got bright out suddenly, like glaringly bright. That's usually when they're there, but nobody was catching anything. I mean, not one. So he said, I caught one carp and fished for an hour and realized that the weather has been so cold this spring. The fish do not go by the calendar, they go by the water temperature as to how they act. So this is going to be problematic, but we're familiar with this, right? If I put it like that. I didn't want to sit up in the chair because I'm not feeling all that great. I woke up at 1 o'clock in the morning, and I took 5 milligrams of Valium and 100 milligrams of Neurontin, which is the lowest dose that you can take of Neurontin, so I could go back to sleep. So if I turn my head this way, I don't know. But anyways, yeah, I'm still feeling not good, but my friend's fine. His eyesight's fine. He does have macular degeneration, which may be that his eyesight may be in jeopardy in the future. And he is 65 years old. And, he just was being careful yesterday. On my front, the last video I made, I had that miraculous bout of unlooked for sleep. And then the next night, I woke up like 2 or 3 in the morning. And then last night, I woke up at like 1 a.m. So I was like, this is way too early for me to be awake. So that's why I went with the Neurontin, and I was able to go back to sleep. And then I woke up at 6 and it was snowing. So I'm going to keep this short because the sun's, not only is the sun not cooperating, but I'm not in really good brain this morning. But yeah, I have to kind of like clean house because the aid workers can't do it, So, but I have somebody coming in here on the 28th, and from their agency. But right now, it either looks like a crazy person lives here or somebody that can't take care of themselves. And you don't ever want to give up your autonomy. You know, you don't want to ever be like, well, he can't take care of himself, so he needs assisted living. You want to fight that as long as possible. What's that? Oh, it's not going to block out the sun. Maybe this will. Yeah, I was professional as ever. That's not going to work. Uh, anyways, um, yeah, you don't ever want to like put your hands you, in somebody else's hands, so to speak. You don't ever want to give up your autonomy. You always want to fight. You know, if you happen to be old, you always want to fight to be able to do things yourself and to take care of yourself. Because no, you know, unless you're lucky enough to have family members to take care of you, and then that can even be a problem. You know, it lends itself to bad things. And once there's some sort of state intervention where, like, well, this guy is all messed up, he can't take care of himself, so we're going to force him into a situation that he doesn't want to be into. You know, and I don't know even the probability of that happening or whatever, but I'm going to try to clean up as much as possible. I'm not going to do anything about the couches all laid up because she's already been in here, the case manager. I was telling her that I'm in the process of moving, but I got the couches and I got all, you know, the living room doesn't look lived in because it's not lived in. So the couch is up on end. You know, there's stuff laid up against the couch, and but the thing of it is like the floor hasn't been swept in months, and there's like garbage on the floor, like just random papers, and not like garbage, like, you know, empty milk jugs and stuff. Just very untidy look about it, you know. So I gotta do that, and then this weekend, and I'm saying this on here because it helps me do things. I'm gonna get over my disappointment at the Stonehenge thing and not being able to move where I want to move because that place is less than 3 miles down the road. It would have been really easy to move in there, you know, to get somebody to drive just a couple of miles down the road, and it would have been ideal, except for they had regulations to keep riffraff like me out, really just poor people. Um, so uh, yeah, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to start looking again because I had looked and looked, and then I was like, okay, this is the place that I want, and then you know, I was fully expecting that I could finally get out of this insane asylum. I'm hearing the dog bark upstairs right now, which you may or may not hear, and it is not even 8 o'clock in the morning. So, um, so that was like a big disappointment, and then I started to have sleep disruption, and then I didn't even want to look at places to move anymore, and I had already paid rent here. My rent is good till July 1st, but of course, as we know, time flies when you're not, even when you're not having fun. And it's already May 9th, so I got like 40 days and 40 nights to figure out how to get out of the desert and get into the promised land. So it's actually 40 years. I totally messed that up. This 40 days and 40 nights is Jesus, I think, out in the wilderness. Um, yeah, I don't know. Anyways, like I said, I'm not in good brain. I think the Israelites, it was 40 years that they wandered around outside, um, looking for the promised land. But see, not in good brain. Uh, the reason why this will be short is the thing of it is like I didn't get on here yesterday because I had stuff to talk about it, but it was major heavy stuff that I can't just put on the internet, and I didn't really have anything else going on, and yeah, so I was like, you know what do I really have to talk about? And then like I talked to my friend, and I was like, well, I have something to talk about now. My friend had a scare where he was worried about going blind, and then it's kind of funny when I called him. I was like, because sometimes he'll call me. I looked at the time on the phone that he called me, and he called me a couple of times. But he was really just calling me for company on the drive home because it's an hour and 45-minute drive. And I missed both of his calls. And I was like, did you have some fish that she was going to give me? Because sometimes they'll come back from Fremont, and they'll, you can catch like, the reason why people go there is you can catch like hundreds, literally hundreds of white bass when the white bass is running, and they're good to eat. They're not as good as largemouth bass or smallmouth bass, but they're good to eat. They're right up there, and you know, I've had as many as 38 of them in my freezer before. Also, what I did was something you don't ever want to do when I had 38 of them, is I didn't want to sort them out or clean them or mess with them. So I just threw them in a garbage bag and threw them in the freezer, and they were like a fish sculpture. The problem is they have very sharp spines. So when I was trying to pry them apart, I kept like stabbing myself in the hands with the spines on their dorsal, stabbing myself in the hand with spines from their dorsal fins, and that doesn't feel very good. But I'm trying to pry them apart, you know. There was actually too big a mob of them for me to throw them in the sink with you know, cold water. That's what you do when you freeze a bunch of fish together, is you throw them in the sink and you get them to separate, and or the bathtub before you clean them, which I didn't think about the bathtub at the time. But anyways, but he was like, no, I didn't have any fish for you. And he's like, the fishing was terrible. I said, so you really didn't go fishing? You just went for a drive? And he goes, pretty much. Because that's 3.5 hours on the road to fish an hour and catch a carp. So that's not cool. Um, yeah, but his after he got back from the eye doctor, his wife was like, well, why don't you just go fishing? He had already canceled with my brother, and my brother was, he couldn't get a hold of my brother to ask him if he still wanted to go. So he went by himself, and it turned out to be a big waste of time. But I imagine he was really relieved. There's no feeling like the feeling of relief. Uh, he was really relieved, like he was thinking that he might have to have eye surgery, like emergency eye surgery and stuff. So I imagine that's what drove him to be like, yeah, I'll go fishing. And then it turned out to be like the fish aren't in the water yet because it's just been too cold. Because I don't know if I said that, but fish do not go by the calendar. They're not like, oh, it's May 5th. It's time to get horny and go and swim in this stream and mate in thousands and have a big giant fish orgy. No, they go by the water temperature. They don't go by the calendar. And because we've had such a cold spring, uh, they're just not there at all. There was nobody caught any. There was other people trying there because it was a nice day. It was in yesterday. It was in the 60s. Today the high is going to be 46. So even though it's like bright and sunny out, I'm not going to be sitting out in the sun. Hopefully the weather will change, and tomorrow you'll see me sitting out in the sun, chilling. Because that's been my plan, is like to go sit out and get some sun. I broke one of my nails yesterday. My nails are not good because I never get outside. And like and my niece asked me the other day, she was like, anytime you need to go out, you can come over and visit and stuff like that. And I'm like, I'm still kind of iffy over the COVID thing because things haven't really changed here as far as like they've opened a few businesses. That's the only difference. The social distancing thing is keeping the numbers down, but they're opening up these businesses, and then slowly to see like if they have to like tell everybody to stay home again. So that's why they changed the verbiage to stay at home order to stay safe Ohio. But she's going to get laid off for like 3 weeks just because it's all, the economy is like all interconnected, and she's in shipping, other people do not need machine parts that she's shipping, or whatever parts or whatever she's doing that shipping, because they're not up and running, so their shit ain't breaking. They don't need to order new stuff. They don't need a shipper. So she's gonna get laid off for like 3 weeks, and but I don't really want to. I don't want to take any unnecessary chances. I think I could go to, like I said, go to the dentist. I could call and ask about that. But this whole thing's been hard on everybody, even hermits like me. I'm used to being a hermit, but like for people like my friend that was worried about his eyesight, he's like, man, it really messed me up because I'm used to a schedule, and he's a highly social creature, and he plays this game called pickleball, right? If you don't know what pickleball is, it's like there's two people on one side and there's two people on the other side, and it's like a combination of badminton and tennis, from my understanding of it. But they have rules. Well, they will not only kick you out of the park, they will close down. They were threatened to put a lock on the whole courts, and just lock the whole park where the courts are down, because they're like tennis courts. They're fenced in so people don't have to chase the balls. It's actually played on a tennis court. So tennis courts like the ones at Stadium Park in Canton, Ohio, are fenced off, so the ball hits the fence. They were just threatening, like, if anybody doesn't observe that the one person on the side, pickleball is played with two people on the side, and they were insisting on, you can only play, like, you can play, but you can only play one person on the side, and like tennis. So you're allowed to play tennis, but you're not allowed to play pickleball or doubles tennis. That's how crazy the world has gotten. But he said he was playing with his wife, and they were playing two on a side with somebody else, some other couple, and a car stopped and actually yelled at him for not observing a social distance. And I'm not talking about like a cop. I'm talking about just like a random citizen yelling at them. And I said, "You got heckled playing pickleball?" I was like, "That's got to be the first time that's ever happened." He goes, "Yeah," and it didn't make no sense either. And and I like yelled back, "That's my wife anyway, dude." There's no social distancing from your wife. So, um, see, so yeah, the world continues to be a crazy place, and it's had an effect on me because, like, I need to like go to the dentist, and I'm not really, I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how I feel about going to the dentist, but I have to get the place cleaned up because somebody's coming in here on March 28th. Of course, I have plenty of time if my appointment's on March 28th, but my legs not been very good lately, and I haven't been doing a lot. Well, I haven't been walking outside like I was there pretty consistently for a while. It's because I started to have sleep disruption, but that's the plan. Is start picking up the house, sweep the floor, and make it look like a relatively sane person lives here, and not a rabid grizzly bear. And look at houses. If I say it on here, there's more of a chance, likely a chance that I'll do it. And so that's about all that's going on with me. And yeah, my coffee's about done, and I'm about ready to get moving and get out of this bed. So it's about 8 o'clock in the morning. I get a lot of headaches. I'm not sure what that's about or why that is. Uh, but anyways, so that's why I didn't do a video yesterday, is because I had stuff to talk about, but it was stuff I can't talk about. So that's why I was like, I didn't even put up a token thing, you know, is, yeah. But you know how it is. You have to respect other people's anonymity. Not so much anonymity as you can't like be talking about uh, serious business involving them where they're sharing confidences with you, and it's interesting and fascinating, and even life or death stuff, but you cannot just use it as entertainment for other people. Uh, you know, it's not right. So that's why I skipped the day. And but I won't skip a day tomorrow. And if it's nice enough out, and I'm by nice enough I mean 50 degrees or more, I will go. I will say that also. We get some sunshine like it is now, or I can still absorb indirect sunshine, but I want to go out and sit in the sun because I need to process me some vitamin D, or either of that or invest in a fluorescent lamp. That's another thing that I could do is I could break out my nail care thing, which, like I was describing, is just like a. It looks like a U-shaped overpass type bridge, and then you stick your hand underneath there, and it blasts your fingernails with the ultraviolet light, and you paint them first before you stick your hand under there, and you only have to stick your hand under this thing for a while. But I bought it specifically as a nail hardener, and I only got to use it once before the bed bug crisis hit. So there's things I can do. I need to make a list. This is getting to be a lot of things that I'm thinking of. Anyways, I'll see you tomorrow, and I hope you have a good day. If you're in my time zone, if you're not in my time zone, I hope things have been going well for you. This day, year of our Lord 2020, May 9th. And I hope wherever you are, unless it's in Canada, it's not snowing.